Hello, I'm Paul Arnold. I'm the chaplain here at Glacier Hills, or one of the chaplains, and I'm joined by Becky Pazkowski, who is the executive director of our foundation. Is that the right title?
That's correct.
I know, executive director. Wow, important person.
Yeah, some people think I'm like the head of all Glacier Hills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have to correct them.
You don't want all those headaches?
Well, I just, you don't want people to think that you outrank your boss.
That's probably a good idea. So, at Life in the Hills, we try to give you updates, and then once in a while, Priscilla and I interview different people here on campus. And Becky comes with a lot of experience, and boy, really hit the road running. I mean, she's done a lot of great things in the short time she's been here. And I also do some work with the Glacier Hills Legacy Fund, which is part of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. And sometimes people have questions about the two foundations. We'll get to that a little bit later. But first, I thought it'd be nice for you to get to know Becky a little bit, hear about her job and what her vision is for the future and what philanthropy can do here at Glacier Hills. So Becky, you grew up in Michigan? You're a Michigander?
I am, yes. I grew up in Michigan, little town about 20 miles from here, Manchester.
Yes.
Right at the lake, Pleasant Lake, and we were known as the Lake Kids. There were the town kids and the lake kids. We were the lake kids. Then I also, so when I started my career, I started it at the University of Michigan, and I like to always say that I grew up at the University of Michigan because I was there for about 20 years total, and really learned a lot of the, I guess, skills, and you come to it with the talents, but then you learn the skills and the culture of philanthropy and marketing. I started out in marketing and then went into philanthropy, which happens a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And then I went on to Chelsea Hospital in Chelsea. I was there for about 5 years as their director of marketing and development. Then came to the Evangelical Homes of Michigan, which is now EHM. And I was there for about 6 years doing just philanthropy for them. And then I had an opportunity to move to Sarasota, Florida.
Ooh, that sounds good right now.
Yeah.
We're recording this on January 27th, and there's snow, and it's about 20 degrees out. So, okay, I won't think about Florida anymore during this interview. I won't think about Florida.
Okay.
Well, you go on. I mean, it was nice in Sarasota, right?
It was beautiful in Sarasota, and when we decided to come back, our son, our older son, had a little girl, and she's 3 now. So that was the big magnet. The littlest person in the family was the biggest magnet. And we decided to come back. So I was really grateful and very lucky to have seen this position available, because these positions don't come available that often, where you really specialize in retirement, home, senior services, philanthropy.
Right.
So, and I knew how to do it. I know how to do it. And so I knew Larry Pazkowski. He and I worked together at Evangelical Homes.
Right.
And I called him and said, hey, I saw you have a job open there. He said, yeah, send me your resume, and then you have to go through the regular channels. So I did, and here I am.
I miss Larry Pazkowski. He had a good, dry sense of humor and always a very patient man. When I would go in and ask for advice or questions, he had a wealth of information, so we miss him. Anne Marie Satterley's doing a great job in his place now. And we have a really good leadership team. It continues to change. And Becky and I sit on the leadership team, and in fact later today we'll be meeting talking about plans for this campus. And one of the things, Becky, that you brought was knowledge of what other places, senior living places, have done, and that's really helped out. I think your skills in communication has helped out quite as much as well. You do the buzz. Do you want to explain to people what the buzz is?
Sure, I actually brought a sample.
A good marketing person always has props.
A little show and tell,
yes.
Right. Well, what we found when I first came here, I felt a little bit like an auditor, because I had done this before at different locations. So you kind of want to look and see, how does it compare? How does it contrast? What kind of difference can we make here? And what I saw was we were really lacking communication. And people really wanted communication.
Yes.
That was the thing. If you were lacking it and nobody cared, that'd be one thing.
Right.
But everybody cared.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that we did right away, is really to start to communicate more. So we started the foundation Buzz.
Buzz.
And it comes out once a month. We've been doing it for a little over a year and a half now, on the 15th of every month. It's primarily a electronic publication, but we also do a few in print for those people who have trouble reading it online, or we just prefer to get it in print. So, and it's really done a lot. I've gotten a lot of great comments from people that, you know, they really appreciate knowing about the foundation, and that was one of our strategic initiatives too. Let's let people know on an ongoing basis what's going on and what we're doing and how they can help. How
Right.
can they be part of this?
Right.
Because, I mean, it's really part of your wellness plan to give.
Right.
Because it makes everybody feel better.
I really strongly believe that. When I first started working here at Glacier Hills, I could see the difference when people stayed in the rooms or when they got engaged and even took on a responsibility. I think we all need a responsibility to keep motivated each day, to have some hope. And the residents who have contributed to serving on boards or with a project and different ways, they just seem to be happier when they're connected with our community. So.
Yes, they do. And there were so many things about the foundation that I found that people didn't know. Even our board members on the foundation board weren't aware of things, that I went and met with each one of them individually and asked them questions which they didn't even know the answer to. So I thought, you know, it's probably time to really do a lot of communication and a lot of education. And so that's another one of our focuses. Foci.
That's all right, keep rolling.
Is to just keep educating our foundation board, because half of them aren't on this campus. And so haven't been on this campus in over a year.
Right.
So it's hard for them to stay connected and to stay updated. So I try to do that. In addition to the Foundation Buzz, I send them updates on a regular basis also.
So communication is really important, but vision, having an idea of what could be, seems to me very important to foundations as well.
Yeah, you know, and the thing with philanthropy and foundations is that there are no limits. You know, the thing that stops a project or a program from going forward is money.
Yeah.
You
We
have
said
to
the word.
have
It took
the
us
money.
10 minutes to get there, but
Right.
we did.
You have to have the money to do it. So philanthropy makes things possible that really nothing else can do. And it's a real interesting field for me, because people say, well, how can you ask people for money? That must be really awful. Well, first of all, if you do your job right, which is to communicate and inform
Right.
and build friendships with people, it's not about asking people for money. It's about finding out what's important to them.
Sure.
And helping them understand what's important to the organization, and can we come together on those things?
Right.
Sometimes you cannot.
Right.
Or sometimes people just don't have the funds during their lifetime to give and things. So we find ways. I was just talking to somebody the other day that said, boy, I sure wish I could give more money now, you know, I just don't have it. And I said, you know, there are ways to give money even after you pass away.
Right.
That make you feel good now.
Yeah.
For knowing that in the future you're going to be realizing your philanthropic dreams. So.
Yeah. You probably know, I'm sort of proud that my dad, he went from being a dean at a community college up northern Michigan, and he transitioned to being in foundation work, and he was the executive director of the Midland Foundation that gathered all the people from different foundations to get things done in the community. And I remember him kept on saying about vision and quality of life and legacy, that he wanted to make sure that the people he talked to were saying, I'm invested, this is something I'm interested in, and I want to make sure I'm helping people beyond my time here on earth. I want to make a difference in that legacy, and then improves the whole quality of life of the community or the project does. And that's really important, that no one knows how long we have on this earth, but we want to make the best of it, right? And help others.
We do, and that's what makes people feel good. And
Yeah.
we know that from going through this pandemic. What makes people feel, what can I do? What can I do? People would say, you know, well, our employees need help.
They do.
And we raised so much money during the pandemic of just, you know, $50 at a time or $100 at a time. We got to the point where we had $75,000 to then give back to our employees or colleagues, we call them.
Did you say 75,000?
75,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we
isn't
can
it?
give 1,000 at a time over a 3-year period. But we helped so many people. We helped over 60 people who were struggling.
Yes.
And the struggles, many times, for the most part, it's very hard for them to come forward and admit that they're having problems and ask for help. But, that's what the money's for. That's what it's there for. It makes everybody feel good.
What I learned was, even though our colleagues have a job here, their spouse or their partner may be in the restaurant business or something else where they stopped having any income right away, and take away 40 or 50% of your income, you're in trouble and you have to make big choices. And I know there was times where I saw people coming in and out of your office very burdened. It was tough for them to ask for help. But I'm glad you do it in a very discreet way. You and John work really hard at that. Another part that I really think is very cool about Glacier Hills is the art program. And Sarah leads that up. And I'm thinking, wow, that just brings the extra culture that I think a lot of people from Ann Arbor want to continue and promote. And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, our art program here, because I don't know a lot about art, but I've learned a lot of it from Sarah. And what I've found, and what she's helped to educate me on, is that we have a lot of very valuable art in our corridors that's, for the most part, all on display. And the most of it are local artists, which is kind of nice to know. And there's a story behind it that people can relate to, because most of our residents here are from this area.
Yes.
And she does a really nice job of pulling pieces together on a regular basis to talk about, she calls it 5 easy pieces.
Yes.
And so and they're not easy at all, but she talks about the 5 of them and how they relate to our culture in Ann Arbor, how they relate to our history in Ann Arbor, and how they adorn the walls here at Glacier Hills. And people really love that series. And she was doing it in person first, but then when we couldn't gather anymore, she started doing it on a video and then putting it up on GHTV, and it's worked out really well, and she does a very nice job. And then we also have an art gallery on the 3rd floor that rotates every 2 months in the Meadows, on the 3rd floor of the Meadows. Yes, we're trying to find a place in the Manor where we can do something similar. It's a longer process to do that, but we'll find something. But what I was struck by is that I said, Sarah, do you have any idea what the value of our art here is on our campus? Do you want to take a guess?
That's not fair. How many total pieces are there?
I don't know. I can't even
I want
tell
to
you.
guess 80,000.
It's over $250,000.
Oh my goodness.
And that's just an estimate on Sarah's side. So when you talk about our art collection, we have a bit of a museum here.
We do.
And it would be nice to get that word out, around Ann Arbor, especially when people could start coming in. But for people to understand that the art is important here.
It is.
And the way in which it is displayed, the rules that surround that and that govern how it's displayed are important.
Right. And I walk the halls from every corner of this whole facility. I'm one of the few people that do that. And sometimes I have to stop and look at the beauty of the art. From the orchids on the 2nd floor of the Meadows, just gorgeous. And then some of the artwork that people put outside their homes that reflect Michigan, and I look at so beautiful. And then black and white photos with amazing detail, and sometimes I get distracted by that, but I love it. And before we go too far, I want to say thanks to the foundation, Glacier Hills TV is possible as well. We started on a shoestring budget, and they helped get the camera that we're using now and the microphones we're using and some lighting that's helping us look a little bit better here. And then we're waiting to get to our next project soon, and they helped get that as well. So thank you so much for supporting Glacier Hills TV, and it's a way for us to get into people's rooms so they don't feel so isolated, and hopefully they'll enjoy getting to know our colleagues, our staff a little better as well. So now I guess we make the turn. We talked about where you came from, what you learned when you first got here, some things you have right now. So what's the future look like? What projects are you working on now?
Good question. There are 3 major projects that I'm working on personally right now that have been funded or hopefully will be funded by the foundation. And when I say the foundation, it's the people who give the money.
Yeah.
who fund these.
Right.
It's not the foundation, it's the philanthropists. So but one is the wellness garden that has taken yet another turn now, and we are in the process of really defining how we can make that go forward this spring so that we have a garden out there in the fall. So
And you laugh because you
It's-
don't want to say too much to get in trouble with the city? Is that it?
well, no, the city has already told us what we cannot do. So we're trying to get them to say what we can
That sounds
do.
like good parenting. You can't
Yeah.
do this, but you can do that.
Right. All, you just have to give them healthy options.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. We think we have a plan for doing that will actually reduce the cost of it too. So once we have that nailed down, which I think will be this week and next week, we will be able to, get back with our donors who have made, quite a bit of donations,
Yeah.
to make that work. So we'll get back and communicate with them. So, and then the other project that we have going on right now is the identification, which is also funded by a donor, the identification of a dementia education symposium
Ooh.
that will be named for the father of the woman, father and then significant other, two women, father and significant other. Walter Weber was his name. He passed away in October of 18, just before the Huron Woods group moved over to
Yes,
Glacier Hills.
yeah.
So he was never a resident of ours.
Okay.
But he was a longtime member or resident there. Member, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Member of
But-
a community.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was a resident over there and a very important man in the University of Michigan. And water was his thing. So, and water in many different ways. But they wanted to help fund an education program for our employees, for our families of those who are challenged by dementia, and for the community. So we are working on that, and it's going to be very exciting. It's initially a 4-year program that we're defining, and we will be able to roll that out this year and how we do it. But it will involve everybody on our campus.
Wow.
Everyone associated with Glacier Hills in some way will have some sort of training in dementia education.
Right.
So that's a big, exciting program.
Good.
I'm working with Kat Butler on that. And then the third thing is the third floor of the manor has a very large space that is currently not being used at all,
Right.
but was used previous to the pandemic as a dining facility for mostly the people on the third floor. And so it was, I would say, underutilized, even though it did have an important utility. It was really underutilized. And going forward, we won't need that space for a dining facility. So we're looking at what to do with that. Well, the ceiling has already, as you know, the ceiling has already been treated acoustically to be able to receive some beautiful music.
Yes.
So, and we had a concert in there
Yes.
last year. It was
Priscilla Johnson. Oh my goodness.
Yes, she was
Planned it so well.
fantastic the way
Yes.
she put that together. And it was literally our last program before we had to shut down. But we're looking at revitalizing that and converting it to a dedicated performing arts center. So we're in the process of looking at that. Our foundation board meets on Tuesday, the second Groundhog Day, and they're going to look at it and see the results of the feasibility study and the survey that came back from the residents and where we can go from there.
Right. I'm excited for different reasons. One, it's a great space for future worship services or concerts and possibly recording area for GHTV. I got a phone call from a resident one day, and he was trying to encourage me with the videos, and this is not my primary responsibility. I still visit people and plan worship services and counsel people, but I do enjoy doing this. And he said, "What can we do to help you?" And I said, down the road, some place that we could record would be helpful. Well, in the meantime, I commandeered this TV room in the Dobson Life Enrichment Center, and it's helping quite a bit. But it's exciting to think what could happen, and we need those things during the pandemic to look forward to, don't we?
Everybody wants positive things to think about in the future, now and in the future. So lest we forget, those are 3 big initiatives going on right now, but we don't want to forget about the things that we've been doing ongoing, which is the scholarships for employees here who are trying to further their education, and how those are funded through our philanthropists here on our campus and off of our campus. And then all the other programs that we're doing, the grants that came through, for the most part, through the campus fund.
Right.
And with the affiliation of Trinity, and how that made over $6 million available to us, and that has grown over the years and is now a bigger fund, and we're able to grant over $300,000 worth of dollars on an annual basis. So that's nice.
Yeah. Well, what other things I see other materials, anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I just wanted to say in terms of communication, we have done a couple of things. We do this on a monthly basis, the buzz. And
you just like saying the buzz, don't you?
I know.
You like,
it just kind of, it's the alliteration.
It is.
Yeah, not alliteration, onomatopoeia, right?
If you say so.
Says what
My wife's the English teacher, I'm not. So.
Ask her if that's onomatopoeia. I will. And then we have a brochure called Make a Gift, Touch a Life, and that just talks about the foundation and ways to give to the foundation. And then we also, for the first time this past fall, put out Making an Impact 2020. And this will be an annual publication that we'll do. It will come out in September. It will report on the fiscal year previous to that. But it really tells the story from a perspective on how the foundation and what the foundation has done has impacted the lives of the people it touches. So from an employee, from a resident, from a donor, and then from the community point of view. So we try to include everything. This year we had to use photographs that were existing because we couldn't do a photo shoot. Right. So next year we hope, although yours came out really well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
my photos came out pretty well.
Well, yikes. Your photo in particular.
Let's move on then. Yeah, you see me with the mask. And we're not wearing masks. If you didn't see, we have this partition here, and that's why we're not wearing masks. But wearing masks so much, little things like my face has gotten dry here, and anyways, finally my wife's happy I'm putting moisturizer on my face. I've never done that before. Anyways. Well, Becky, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For your hard work, your diligence, your vision, and the communication really does help. And really appreciate that, all that you do.
We're pleased to do it. And if anybody has any questions, call me.
Yes. She's a great person at getting back to you. So we wrap up this conversation and hope that you watch another Life in the Hills.
Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well. I'm up on the 3rd floor of the Meadows today in the Huron Room Gallery. I want to share with you all the exhibition that we've had on view here. We never got to share it with all of the residents because of all of the lockdown measures that were taken. So I want to make sure that everybody who is not able to enter the Meadows right now gets a chance to see this beautiful artwork. So on display we have pieces of work done by Glacier Hills residents, and this was selected by a jury of Ann Arbor art experts that came together and reviewed all of the submissions and picked out a beautiful selection to put up on the walls here. And this is actually the first of 2 exhibitions. So following this one, we're going to put up a second selection of resident artwork. And I'm excited to share that with you as soon as we get it up on the walls. So the first piece that I wanted to talk to you all about today is this right here. This was done by Ann Holmes of the Manor, and it's titled Bosch Triptych. So Ann Holmes has a doctorate in art education, and she's been exhibiting her work since the 1960s and clearly continues to do so today. So she's been a longtime educator in higher education in the arts, and this piece is an example of her style. She likes to emulate the old master painters and kind of give her own spin on some classic subjects and images. So this is based off of Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights, which was painted around 1500. And it incorporates various different Bosch paintings. The main inspiration is the Garden of Earthly Delights, but it brings in a few different images from his works. And Anne added her own interpretation to it, and this is the beautiful result, done in oils. On my left, we have a beautiful needlepoint done by Yvonne Hoff of the Meadows. This piece was done in 2009, but Yvonne has been creating needlework since the age of 5. She was taught by her grandmother, and she still owns and treasures the original piece that they crafted together when she was 5 years old. So Yvonne has taken numerous classes over the years in needlepoints, and this piece was created in a monthly class with the Needlework Guild of America. And on the subject of her technique, she says that she just keeps counting. This photograph here was taken by Bill Brem of the Meadows. We actually have 2 photographs by Bill in this exhibition, so I'll show you the second in just a moment here. So Bill's been making photographs since he was given his first camera around 80 years ago, and he has no formal training. All of his photography is the result of experimentation and self-teaching. He exclusively works in film photography, and all visual effects in the images were created at the time of exposure by using special lenses. This one, for example, was done with a soft focus lens. And Bill says that to him, film offers a virtually unlimited resource. He prefers micro views, so the blossoms in this image are less than 1.5 inches high. So this is the second of Bill Brem's photographs in the exhibition. This photograph is actually of an azalea blossom, and so it's extremely zoomed in, and you can see here the pistil and stamen, and so this large soft focused image is actually a very small blossom. This next piece is a colored pencil piece by Sarah Newman of the Manor. And so Sarah Newman began working with colored pencil following her retirement in 1996. And so she's taken several courses at the Ann Arbor Art Center. She usually works from photographs that she's taken, as colored pencil work requires hours to complete. And so the process for this piece was layering very, very thin applications of colored pencil to get a smooth, rich coverage. The piece is titled Mother's Ruby Doll, which tells its story. It's a drawing of an antique doll that belonged to her mother when she was a child around 1915. And her mother made the outfit that's pictured here, along with many others, while she was later in life, and carefully preserved the doll for Sarah to have when she was old enough to appreciate its value. So this piece commemorates that doll. This needlepoint was created by Dee Brem of the Meadows. So Dee has been practicing needlepoint for as long as she can remember, but she has no formal training, is entirely self-taught. When she purchased the materials for this particular piece, the staff at the store looked at her design and challenged her to complete it in 1 year, and she successfully did that. So the 6 angels in the needlepoint depict her 6 grandchildren, and they each have mentally put their name on their selected angel. So every time they look at it, they can point their own angel out. This next piece was done by Lee Hibbs of the Meadows. So Lee has been a lover of art her whole life and has been selling her artwork since 1974. She's taken a variety of classes in school and with professional artists, and watercolor is her preferred medium. This piece was made at a live modeling session, so she and a few other artists pooled their money to hire 2 live models to sit for them. And so this piece is a multimedia piece. So the original drawing was done in Conte crayon, And that's the orange, white, and green bits that you see in the piece. So those were all original drawings, and then she later went in with watercolors, and what she had applied in crayon acted as a resist, and the watercolor just filled in around it.